I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's do it to it, right?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
One win. One win. And suddenly, everything's back to normal. Come on, New York. Wake up. Soto's hitting balls halfway to Long Island, and Max Fried proving why he was worth every dollar. Pitching like he's auditioned for a Yes Network rewind. Let's not kid ourselves. One or two good nights isn't some magic eraser that wipes out weeks of bullpen meltdowns, stranded runners, managers scratching their heads thinking, what do I do next? The Mets split the series with Atlanta and they limp back into first place barely. But Griffin Canning might be gone for the year. Alvarez and Acuña are down in Syracuse trying to find themselves. I mean, Pete and Juan can't hit for all 9 positions in the lineup. Even if they could, trust me, they're probably a little tired. And the Yankees, my goodness. Yeah, you finally beat Cincinnati. Real parade material there. The bigger issue is being just barely above water in the division that was supposed to be wrapped up by now. Volpe's struggling, and the fans are getting tired of that real fast. Jazz doesn't know how to act like a pro, keeps getting tossed when they have a massive hole at third anyway, and both teams couldn't get a hit with a runner on to save their life. But don't worry, we got plenty more to talk about just beyond this city's baseball chaos. KD is trading his jersey colors yet again. Aaron Rodgers is prepping a Mariano Rivera-level NFL farewell tour. The Knicks are still coachless. And the kicker, to end all kickers, pun intended, Justin Tucker's legacy is looking like the double doink right now. It's been a big week on Instagram for everyone. Send me spicy takes, some bold predictions, and an absolute gem from a Canadian listener. Yeah, we're international. That had me debating who the king of New York might be. I got trades, I got scandals, I got controversies, I got it all. So stay right where you're at, get locked in. This is episode 19. This is Rice on the Mics. Time to buckle up.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Let's kick it off with baseball. But I gotta warn you, this isn't exactly going to be sunshine and rainbows, folks. One good night doesn't undo weeks of disaster. So, we good? All right. Deep breath. Let's get right into it. First of all, Queens. Mets. We got to have a chat. The Mets finally split their 4-game nightmare with Atlanta. And yes, I get it. You're now back atop the NL East for now, because apparently the only teams that the Phillies can beat are the Mets. But it's only because of the massive lead you built for yourself now to just give it all back. And God forbid it comes down to another scenario like last year where you and the Braves are competing for the last wild card spot. Guess what? The tiebreaker is the season series, and now the Braves hold that way over your head. And yeah, you might hold one over the Dodgers, but in division is the more important one. Pete has been Pete. He racked up 3 hits last night. And you know what? The bullpen stepped up after Griffin Canning left, which, the hits keep coming. What looks like a brutal Achilles injury. Somehow you got through the game without totally imploding. So let me give you the golf clap, because that's been the Mets' MO for late. But that doesn't change what's really going on with this team. Some guys are doing their jobs, but most are not. I am sick and tired of Tyrone Taylor being our 6th hitter. Look, he's a wizard in center field, and that's fine in the lineup if you want to do that. But that's the guy you bat 9th to turn it over, not 6-hole RBI spot. And I'm tired of Jeff McNeil shooting liners foul down the right field line just to whiff and strike out on a slider away. Beatty is either the AAA, quadruple A player, or he's hitting 500 for the series. There is no consistency anywhere on this team. The pitching has been above and beyond carrying us. And even in any Mets fan's wildest dreams, they didn't think of this. Shit, Frankie Montas, who everybody was so worried about at his AAA rehab starts, whatever, he goes out and gives you 5 scoreless, and you still barely blow the game or win the game. I mean, now that the pitching has taken a step back, it's time for the bats to come alive and be this high-powered offense that you were advertised to be. And they consistently keep setting you up for hope, and they consistently keep disappointing you. And now Canning might join Senga and Minaya on this growing list of casualties, including Winker and Vientos, who were supposed to lengthen this lineup and make big strides, even with Soto. And instead, I'm watching Jared Young be the DH for this team, who swings a 3 curveball at his shoelaces. This rotation right now is held together with bubblegum and hope. And all it's doing is putting more and more stress on the bullpen, which eventually it will crack. And that's what we've been seeing as of late. Going all the way back to the 4-1 lead against Atlanta that you blew, which set up the whole momentum that you lost for these series. Or how about Brazaban, who's been lights out all year, walking the bases loaded, forcing you to go to Reed, which is even more stress on him. Then meanwhile, I got Alvarez and Acuña are taking a timeout in Syracuse. 1, because Alvarez just doesn't know how to hit anymore, and 2, because Acuña isn't getting a chance to hit. I said it in the beginning of the year, and I mean it now more than ever. It's time to ship Jeff McNeil. It's time to put him in a trade package, let him go be a star on someone else's team. I don't even care if he hurts us. It's time to let Acuña be the everyday second baseman. Let's see what he's actually got for a full season. And by the way, it gives some speed back to this team that they lost when Jose Siri broke his leg. It's not exactly confidence inspiring that they got sent down. And sure, look, Soto is found his full stride. He is now Soto of Soto. Hits 2 moonshots earlier in the week. Jumps ahead of Jimmy Fox on the list of what I think it was most multi-game home runs on a player under the age of 26. I mean, when you're mentioned with Jimmy Fox, you're doing something right. But the problem is everything has almost everything has been a solo shot. And because of Soto's early slump, he might not even make the All-Star team for the first time in his career. But I'm not putting blame on Soto. None of this is his fault. His numbers are on pace for the back of his baseball card. This is a floor problem, not a ceiling problem. If you can just get a couple of guys that will raise the floor of this team and this lineup, I have zero doubt in my mind that things will quickly turn around. They'll get right back to where they were, but until that happens, we're all sitting around expecting Lindor, Soto, and Pete to be perfect players, which for anyone that truly knows how baseball goes, that's not how it goes. Guys have ups and downs. You hope that this is only like a blip on the radar and not the actual finished product. And you know they're going to make moves at the deadline. But man, these past 2 weeks, they've been hard to watch. The bottom line is winning 2 of 12 isn't going to get it done. That's a slump that you're lucky you had a fantastic start. It's time for Stearns to be the genius that he's been touted to be and to figure it out. Now let's swing it across town to the Yankees. Boys, congratulations. You won 1 game against Cincinnati to avoid the sweep. And as per usual, it's because of Max Fried bailing you guys out. That man has been pitching out of his mind. I think after a Yankee loss, when he goes the next day, he has like a .79 ERA, some ridiculous number like that. But he's proven why he was worth every penny. And again, as a Met fan, thank you so much for taking him out of the NL East. If Cole was here, I have no doubt in my mind that the Yankees would be 10, 12, 15 games ahead in the division. And even without him, I mean, you've been able to handle business, but half a game up on Tampa, who had that on their bingo card, right? So here we are, just like the Mets, in that June swoon, the dog days of baseball, as they say. And as per usual, the Yankees don't play baseball, quote, the way you're supposed to play the game, end quote. Which, to be fair, the Mets don't really either. No one bunts runners over anymore. No one shortens their swing. Everyone is just looking for a double in the gap or leaving the park and swinging out of their goddamn shoes instead of letting the bat do the work. Jason Dominguez is slowly starting to look like the player he was touted to be. Like, he's got the speed. That's undeniable. And he's got some power and pop. And to be fair, the spring training errors aside that everybody made fun of him for, his fielding has looked much better. But he's a baby. He's a baby out there. And there's so much pressure on him to be a better player than he is right now. I mean, it's his first full year up, and he's expected to be, this 3, 4, 5 hitter kind of like monster. Like, no acclimation to the big leagues, no taking it slow. Just get in there and live or die by the fire, which, to be fair, personally, I think is the best way to learn things. But I don't know. The only guys that do hit correctly or play the game they were supposed to be are the vets. Goldie and Belly, they're the only ones that shorten their swing up or, understand the situational hitting of what's going on, how to push a runner over. On top of it, too, the Yankees are terrible in extra innings, like historically terrible. They're 1 for 6 this season, but they don't know what they're doing in extra innings because they don't bunt guys over, hit guys over. Boone's late game playbook might as well be a white flag. There's runners in scoring position, the Manfred man. Yankee fans, we do research around here. Cover your ears for this. They're 5 for 43. 5 for 43. That's borderline impossible. And I'm sure I sound like I'm really getting hard on the Yankees here, but don't get me started on Jazz. I'm assuming most people that listen to this podcast have played some level of organized sports in their life, whether it be, Little League, college, high school, whatever. You ever have a guy on the team that was like, he was pretty good or he was good enough that you kind of need him on the field, that you couldn't take him out of the lineup or take him and discipline him or anything, but he just has a bad attitude or doesn't know when to let something go, and that indirectly shifts to the vibe of the team, and now everybody else starts getting on edge? Yeah, that's Jazz. And look, there's a difference between, having some swagger or, feeling yourself to play better, Deion Sanders, look good, feel good, play good, and just being a downright fool. So what happens? Jazz, again, gets tossed for arguing balls and strikes. When, meanwhile, the manager of your team is probably the most thrown-out manager for having your back on balls and strikes. And honestly, because he gets thrown out so much, is probably the reason why you guys get bad calls, because the umpires don't want to hear from him. And yes, the pitch that Jazz freaked out on, that was a ball. That was a ball. But it got called a strike, and it was a bad call by the ump. And the ump knew it, too. But then he lets it affect his whole at-bat, and he gets sat down because of it. And then what happens? He gives it to the umpire. And I'll give credit to the Blue. Instead of tossing him right away, he let him speak his piece, because the umpire knew he missed the call, and what is he going to do? You can't give a makeup call on a strikeout. Look, until the robo-umps come, shit happens, right? But if in that situation, you say what you want, you don't show them up too bad, and you move on. You don't let it affect you in the field. But no. He continues on, even into the dugout before he even gets in the field. He continues on, and Boone tried to pull him aside. Didn't work. And then the captain, the silent leader, speaks softly but carry a big stick. Judge pulls him aside and tells him to relax. Right there. Even if you don't respect Boone, or if you think nothing's going to happen to you, or there's no authority or whatever, you better respect Judge. And that should be the end of it right there. Wipe it away, wipe it from your mind, and go get him in the next at bat. Make sure you make a good play in the field. No. Now you go into the field and you continue to talk shit, regardless if it was to yourself or whatever, or was directed at the ump. But you're at third base and the umpire sees you. That should be it. The play should be over. You should move on. But now you get tossed. And now, instead of being the great player you are, now you put your manager and your team in a tough spot. Now they got to make a switch. They got to scramble at a weak third base position anyway. Guys are playing out of spot. You hinder your team. What? Because you had to make a point? Jazz, you're a professional athlete. You should know more than anyone that things don't always go your way. But the reason you got to where you are is because you pushed through the adversity. You face it your entire career. You didn't let people control your emotions. One of the best quotes I've ever heard in the last, couple years or whatever, is from the king of overacting himself, Mike Tyson. In Mike's later years, he has become a sage of advice for younger athletes on his podcasts. And whoever he was interviewing, I forget who it was, but the guy that he was interviewing was talking about how the fighter that he was going to fight, he said something and it affected him in the ring, and then he wanted to kill him, and yada, 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 yada. And Mike, real matter of fact, he just said, based on that sentence alone, I can already tell that you either lost that fight or you had to struggle to win it. And the guy was like, no, you don't know what, I'm in the wrong because he said something. And Mike, very calmly and very wisely, said, quote, he's not your enemy anymore. He's now your master. He stole you away from you because you allowed that person to control your emotions. So now he owns you. And until you learn, you'll never be in total control of what you want to do and how you want to behave. Woo! How powerful is that? I mean, jeez. If that don't give you chills, nothing will. Jesus. Anyway, I digress. Based on the poll I put out this week, fan patience is wearing real thin with Anthony Volpe. And I get it. Slumps happen. But you got to realize where you are and who you play for. This team, for the past 2 years, has been banking on this kid to be Derek Jeter 2.0. And so far, he couldn't hold his jockstrap. You've been lucky to get Jeter light, if anything. Look, I still got hope for him, too. I got hope for the kid. Hometown kid, a lot of pressure on him. But someone needs to talk to him and sit him down and talk about his approach at the plate and what he really wants out of his MLB career. Because right now, whatever he's doing, it ain't working. So here's what it boils down to. Here's the real problem. Neither of these teams are built right. The Mets have no killer instinct or no gimmick to rally around. And the Yankees are sacrificing defense for bats who couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat anyway. There's very little, if any, leadership and accountability. And where it's going to come from, I don't know. But at some point, some of these guys on both of these teams are going to need to look themselves in the mirror and realize that what is going on ain't working. So I can't say it any more clearly than this. This is a slump, but it's also a telling pattern from last year. And again, until someone steps up and takes some responsibility, it's not going to change. Some of the stories you might have missed, let's go around the league real quick. A disgusting fan got banned for life from every stadium for heckling Keitel Marte about his deceased mom. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, how low you got to be to, chirp somebody about their dead mother. Those are the moments when you would kind of be okay with a Ron Artest moment happening. Or at the minimum, at least he should be allowed to have a no holds bar conversation in the parking lot. Cal Raleigh leads MLB in bombs and dropped a very thinly veiled shade about short porches. Judge might have something to say about that, might have some words. Acuña Jr., after coming back from injury, said he's going to compete in the Derby at home because it's in Truist Park. And that's what stars do, man, hurt or not. PCA, you should take some notes and embrace the stardom. DeGrom, my boy, almost no hits Baltimore. God, I would love to see him back in a Mets uniform. Boston, listen carefully, even though you might be out of it, and he would be a great fit for the Yankees or the Mets. Do not trade Alex Bregman. You already shipped Devers, and there's so much smoke going around about you guys moving Durant. Your fan base will riot, and they deserve better. And lastly, Barry Bonds is getting a statue outside of Oracle Park, finally. Some notation. Posey continues to just make all the right moves as a GM. And it wouldn't even surprise me if he had some say in the city ownership. Listen, Bonds will never be in the Hall of Fame, and that's unfortunate, but at least he can be memorialized outside of his park. To wrap it up, look, one good day of baseball can't wipe away weeks of failure. It takes a culture shift. It takes a lot of things. Mets, Yankees, you're on notice right now. And it's time to fix it. Show your fans you actually give a damn. With the disaster of the Yankees and Mets out of the way now, let's shift it over to some hardcore, some NBA. The season might be over, but the offseason has only just begun. Stay tuned. We got lots of NBA news for you. Okay, let's lace them up, folks. NBA is cooking with gas. We got championships, we got blockbuster deals, and a franchise hitting the self-destruct button. Let's unpack it all. First of all, we got to start and give props. Oklahoma City, your 2025 NBA championships, and what a ride. I mean, laughingstock of the NBA a couple years ago. It's a royalty now. And a potential dynasty in the making. Thunder beat the Pacers in Game 7. SGA caps a dream year for any player. League MVP, scoring champ, finals MVP. And the triple crown of basketball. And it puts him in rarefied air. Just the fourth player to do it. Kareem, Jordan, and Shaq. And now SGA. Whew. I mean, young player, you come in the league like that, you take that all goddamn day. Unfortunately, the big story of the night for Game 7, instead of it being about the Thunder winning, it was more about Tyrese Halliburton, tearing his Achilles. In the first quarter, nonetheless. It's tough too because you don't wish injury on anybody, and you want to see the best game available, especially in a Game 7. And the Pacers led at halftime, so I mean Thunder ran away with it late, and I'm sure not a lot of people watched. But if Hallie was in there, I mean it's tough. You can't help but wonder that big what if. That's a brutal run to an incredible playoff run. Even beating my Knicks, I got to give credit where credit's due. It sucks, and I hate him, but he won, so you give credit where credit's due. He'll be joining Tatum and Lillard on that Achilles injury list next year, which, funny enough, by the way, all three players wore the number 0. So, take that for what it's worth. But Thunder fans, soak it in. You earned it. Pacer fans, well, hold your heads up high. You made it to the finals. You made it to Game 7 of the finals. And your boys left it all on the court, literally. Not trying to be a dick about it, but you guys did knock out my Knicks, so I got to give it back to you a little bit. That being said, championship's over. Time to get into the real meat of everything. The trades going on in the NBA, this league. Whew. Let's kick it off with the team that started us off early. Got buried in all the drama, all the news, Orlando swings big, makes a trade for Desmond Bane, and Memphis gets a haul back. They get Caldwell Pope, they get Cole Anthony, and a pile of unprotected picks, 4, if I remember correctly. Magic GM is saying it's win now mode. And look, I'll believe it when I see it. Orlando was good, but Paolo's hurt, whatever. But it's a bold move. And with a good young squad, I can respect it. Pelicans moved CJ McCollum to Washington. They got younger with Jordan Poole and Sadiq Bey. Look, it's smart. It makes sense, but Washington clears about $100 million in cap space in 2026. And a move like that, and they're hungry. They've been irrelevant for a little while. I don't know. Mark it down. I think something is brewing in D.C. I think they can throw a lot of money at some players. The Celtics are just punting on next year, I guess. Or I don't know, maybe not. I mean, they had a bit of a fire sale. Porzingis to Atlanta and Drew Holiday to Portland, which Portland, Drew Holiday's going to they're going to flip him right away. But they got back like Anthony Simmons, a couple other players. They got some picks. The big thing was it was a salary dump. The Celtics saved about $180 million. $180 million. That's how much those players are worth. That's crazy. That gets them way below the second apron, which as a GM gives you so much more room to maneuver. And you know what? Not to mention, there was a lot of talks draft night circulating about that they might trade Jaylen Brown. There was some talks about Sabonis and this, that, and the other. Ended up not happening yet, but listen, moving KP and moving Drew Holiday, you want to remodel the bathroom, you want to redo the kitchen, that's okay. You move Jaylen Brown, that's like you might as well just do a full foundation upheaval. That would be crazy. And lastly, on trades, we get to the big dog. Kevin Durant, traded again. What do you know? KD moves from Phoenix to Houston, joins Fred VanVleet, Sengun, Amen Thompson. He's got Udoka over there. But the Suns get Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks and a 10th pick. But Jalen Green is enough for that. Jesus, it sounds like a fantasy basketball trade gone wrong. I mean, what are we doing? But here we are. This, you know what this trade reminded me of directly? This reminded me of Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff. Both teams got better, but both teams definitely got worse. But you know what? You know what justified that deal for the Rams? A Super Bowl. Look, losing Jalen Green it's going to hurt later rather than sooner. It's going to hurt for Houston because all accounts points to him blossoming into like just a fantastic player. But for KD, it's ring or bust. And this solid young core and a good head coach, they might be good enough to get there. I mean, they were the 2 seed in the West, which the West is no pushover. They were a 2 seed in the West last year. They might need some veteran leadership to get them over, and KD might be that guy. I mean, he's still good for 25 a night. He ain't playing no defense, but he's good for 25 a night. So if Houston ends up hoisting a banner, nobody gives a shit what they gave up, including Jalen Green. But on the flip side of that coin, if they don't hoist a banner, well, you know how that story goes. Spoiler alert, It's heartbreak and Kevin Durant jersey burnings. And not for nothing, Vegas is usually pretty spot on. They aren't exactly in the business of giving out money nowadays. And once that trade was made, the Rockets' title odds jumped to second best at plus 850. So, not bad for a 37-year-old shooter who switches teams more than Dre switches NBA jerseys. But, this is what the NBA is now. It boils down to 5 to 8 guys on a roster that you can just turn over quickly and often. I mean, that's why you see these GMs nowadays making massive franchise-altering moves. The risk versus the reward is worth it to them, and the turnaround it's so much quicker than any other sport is. I mean, could you imagine if after last year the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl, and in the offseason they go, well, we got close, but, we could probably do better, so let's trade Mahomes. No. I know it's apples and oranges of quarterbacks, but it's still star players. That would never, ever happen, ever. But in the NBA, time and time again, you see big guys move. You see LeBron move. You see KD move. Kyrie, Anthony Davis, Luka, Jimmy Butler, Damian Lillard. Hell, Giannis might even get moved right now. I mean, that'd be like moving like Kelsey from the Chiefs because the fit wasn't right. Am I making sense? You get what I'm trying to say here? Like, there is no turnover like there is in the NBA in any other sport, which is part of the reason why these GMs take these big swings. Why they fired Tibbs after getting to the Eastern Conference Finals after 25 years. Like, this is the reason the NBA is so fun in the offseason. They figured it out. All the big free agents go off the board right away. They get paid an ungodly amount of money. And then teams swap players and picks like they're playing cards. It's crazy. And speaking of the Knicks, Knicks fans, deep breaths here. I mean, we still don't have a coach. Jason Kidd is off the table, and all the eyes are currently on like Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins, Micah Nori, and I think they now said James Borrego. I mean, what are we doing? Look, no matter how you slice it, this is ugly. If you didn't have a plan and fired Tibbs because of, I don't know, internal reasons, the players, the whatever, you could have waited a little longer than 3 days after and let things shake out a little bit to see where you're at. If you didn't have a plan and this was an impulsive move / a Dolan move, then shame on you, and I should start preparing myself for the dark days of the Knicks again. And if you fired Thibs and your plan was to call other teams to try and lure their coach away, then that's almost worse than anything else. I mean, a caller I heard put it perfectly. Like, imagine you go home. You go home to mom's, and she says, "Sonny, when are you going to bring a good wife home?" And your response is like, well, listen, Ma, a bunch of my friends are married, so I was going to call them and I was going to ask them if I could have their wife. Do you see how insane that sounds? And now on top of it, all your friends, a.k.a. the league, they're going to all talk to each other and say, can you believe Tommy wanted to take my wife? What an asshole he is. I mean, look, I'm hopeful for the Knicks. And I think they have a lot of talent on the team and they can pull together. But it right now it's not looking good. So all we can do is hope. All right, that'll do it for the NBA. We got a couple NFL stories, and we're going to close the show out with some viewer DMs and emails that you're definitely going to want to hear. So make sure you stay tuned, folks. All right. Time to strap those helmets on, boys and girls. Time for some NFL news, a little around the league. I mean, it's June, but there is no shortage of off-season drama. I got quarterbacks riding off into the sunset. I got kickers going from heroes to headlines for all the wrong reasons. And I got Woody Johnson apparently becoming the savior across the pond. So let's dive in. First of all, Aaron Rodgers, 41 years young. He's the football equivalent of your buddy who just won't admit that it's time to go home and leave the bar. Well, if you haven't heard, signed a 1-year deal with the Steelers and says he's pretty sure this is the end. I don't know. Look, I don't know. Pretty sure to me sounds like Rodgers speak for ask me again midseason, depending on what our record is. And on top of it, he starts the farewell tour against his former Jets week 1. That'll be nice and friendly, I'm sure. God, they better go out and rip his head off and get the win. And then on top of it, because the schedule makers know exactly how to build drama, he faces the Packers in week 8. When's the last time the Steelers played the Packers? It's like they knew. Full circle closure, right? Maybe potential disaster. You don't think Jordan Love wants something to say about that? Either way, grab the popcorn. Rodgers goes on to say he's playing one more year for love, peace, and closure. Look, I get it, Aaron. That sounds nice. Just if you're gonna if you're gonna do this damn thing, try not to tear your Achilles on the first series this time, huh? Yeah, I am that bitter. Oh, God damn it. Anyway, let's talk about a story that popped up and about a legacy taking a serious hit. I'm talking about Justin Tucker. He is one of the greatest kickers the league has ever seen. Well, he is now suspended 10 games due to misconduct allegations from multiple massage therapists. Yes, I'm not talking about Deshaun Watson. I am talking about Justin Tucker. The Ravens already cut him loose a while ago, but now it's about reputation, and unfortunately, his reputation is probably gone for good. The allegations go back from 2012 to 2016, and the NFL's personal conduct policy had to get invoked. Look, Tucker denies it all. He calls it false tabloid nonsense, basically calling it like fake news. But the NFL disagrees. And regardless if he's on a team or not, they drop a 10-game suspension on him. Which, to me, that tells me that their lawyers, the Shield's lawyers, did their due diligence and they found plenty. So, I don't know. You do the math. Look, legacy is one of those things that's fragile. It takes forever to build up, but can be immediately destroyed. And Justin Tucker might have just shattered his. It's always innocent until proven guilty, but regardless, this is a real tough look for him. I don't think he'll be singing opera on any team planes anytime soon. If you guys saw that video, you know what I'm talking about. Speaking of tough looks, by the way, the NFL dodges a bullet yet again. Story came out about owners avoiding fully guaranteed contracts, and it was deemed in the courts that there was no collusion found at all after Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed deal triggered the NFL into a panic session. But meanwhile, in those same files, you got owners like Bidwell from Arizona literally texting other owners about keeping guaranteed money low. Sure, no collusion whatsoever, none at all. Got it. That makes sense. Look, I'm not reaching anybody's pocket. I'm not counting anybody's money. I'm not telling owners how to spend their money. But shit like this is the shit that like the NFLPA freaks out about and players freak out about, and that's why, it's a business. I got to make the most for my team, my money, my family, and your favorite player leaves your team because they got offered $10 million more. Like, this directly affects guys like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, like all the stars in this league and up-and-coming stars who, like, are going to seed out guaranteed deals. And now it comes out that they got squeezed out because of bullshit behind the scenes. I don't know. Like, John Mara, Giants owner, like, he is denying it vehemently and like, oh, I was never part of it. But none of that matters. That doesn't matter. Just the fact that, like, some owners behind the scenes were texting about keeping salaries low suggests otherwise, and suggests foul play. And, like, the NFLPA says, oh, we're going to fight on. But what does that even mean? I mean, the collusion train just rolls right along. Remember, folks, when a billionaire tells you that they're not teaming up to save money, I don't know, man. I wouldn't take their word at face value. And speaking of billionaires who just spend terrible money, shifting into some local stuff for the Jets, just to prove that now that Dan Snyder is out of the league, that Woody Johnson, Jets owner extraordinaire, he now takes the title for the worst owner in the league, which we've all known. But, you know, well, guess what? He just bought 43% of Crystal Palace Football Club. What? Because he doesn't have enough on his plate with the Jets for a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since the last Pope. Meanwhile, I'm doing my homework. I'm out here. I find a video of some British commentators, basically their ESPN, talking about the sale and this and the other, and I quote, he goes, "This will be good for Crystal Palace." Folks, I hate to break it to you. How badly does an organization have to be run that when Woody Johnson jumps in, it's an upgrade? They don't know anything about him. Don't forget, Ambassador Johnson swung and missed trying to buy Chelsea last year. And look, I get it. I know. When you got money, you need to look for other ways to make money and this, that, and the other. And it's all, return on investment. And, it's like why the Lakers got sold, but Jeannie Buss is still in charge. It's all about making money. But all this screams to me is that it just proves that he just does not care about his team winning. And he cares about the money in his pocket. So, all right, go ahead. Now he's off to Palace. They were FA Cup winners. They were UEFA Europa League bound. And I don't know, everything's on the upswing. Yet somehow they still think that Woody is going to be a good fix to them. Listen, as a loyal, beaten down, forever Jets fan, all I can say to you guys is Godspeed. Godspeed, Palace fans. Oy. Whatever. That's NFL in June, folks. Rodgers is retiring. Tucker is suspended. And owners are dodging collusion charges. Just another normal offseason, right? Well, stick around. Coming up next, we get into your calls and your hot takes. You guys were all over the Instagram DMs, and you did not hold back. So it's time to show you guys some love. All right. I know we're running a little long on time here, but I promised to get to a little bit of viewer segment. Everybody wrote in with some great takes, and I picked some good ones here. Hopefully, you think so at least. We're gonna kick it off batting leadoff with our international Canadian friend Ethan from Edmonton. He writes in, with the Oilers losing the cup again and players moving around, I'm worried I may lose the best player in hockey, Connor McDavid. There's chatter about him going to the Rangers. I'd love to see him win a cup no matter where he ends up, but here's my hot take. Forget Brunson, forget Judge. Based on what he meant to the city, Henrik Lundqvist is still, and until someone wins a cup or a ship, will always be the king of New York. His name is King for a reason. Ethan, I gotta say, you're kind of not wrong, but I don't know. Based upon what he meant to his team, Henrique was God. But unfortunately, in New York, you're nothing until you win a championship. You could be, all the arguments against Judge. Judge will go down as the greatest Yankee of all time if he wins one ring. But until he wins that one ring, he's just another guy that was really good for them. Same thing with Brunson. Same thing with any athlete in this town. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. Next up, we got Brad from Tom's River. He writes in, this may be a dated conversation, but some Yankee fans still think that Mike Giancarlo Stanton's playoff clutch gene excuses everything. 2 good postseasons, 2 garbage ones, 1 that he was injured for. I think Stanton's one of the biggest busted contracts ever. 2 postseason runs, 1 MVP, and 0 rings. Not worth the $300 million. Look, you're not wrong. All right. He got paid that contract by Miami, and the Yankees ate it all. And that was when Jeter was running Miami, too. He forced the MVP over to the Yankees. At the time, it looked like a great deal, and he did have an opt-out clause, but by the time he was old enough for that opt-out clause, there was no way he was taking that. I don't know, busted contract, $300 million for a player like that nowadays looks pretty good, I guess. But, go tell that to Acuña, who's on like a 7-year, like $188 million now. He's playing for peanuts. Biggest busted contract? I don't know about that, but definitely a little overpaid for fleeting moments. So, Next up, we got NY Red from the Empire State. He writes in, I'm still pretty salty from the playoffs. Tibbs cost us a championship. No adjustments, running players into the ground. Pacers took OKC to 7 games. We could have too. Bridges could have slowed down Shy. Coaching lost us that series. Well, yeah, no shit. Coaching lost us that series. Rick Carlisle was the better coach. And I like Thibs. I think Thibs gets the most out of whatever he's dealt. But yeah, coaching lost us that series 100%. And, we could play the what-if game all day, but if you win game 1, who knows where that series goes, right? If they went to the final, look, we did this last year too. Oh, well, if they beat them, then they could have beat Boston, and they could have, whatever. I don't know. Look, if you beat the Pacers and you go to the finals, maybe Mitch holds Hartenstein under control. Maybe Bridges and OG do the thing, but playing the what-if game just leads you down a spiral of bullshit. I do agree. Tibbs might have cost us that. So we just got to hold on and see where we end up next. Maybe we'll actually hire a coach that has some offensive prowess, All right, moving on. We got Rob from North Jersey going full Nostradamus here. He writes in, Daniel Jones ends up leading the Colts to the playoffs. In the AFC, really? And Anthony Richardson, former top pick, gets traded mid-season for maybe a 5th or 6th rounder. Some team takes the bait and thinks that they can actually fix him. Whoo! You want to talk about a hot take? DJ leading a team to the playoffs? God, Giants fans would love that, huh? Yes and no. I think DJ, it might be better than Anthony Richardson just because he's always hurt, and I don't think Anthony Richardson is actually a quarterback. I think he's a running back that can kind of throw. But, I don't know. The AFC is so loaded. It's gonna be incredibly hard, even in their own division, for the Colts to make the playoffs. All right. Lastly, wrapping it up here, we got Cap from Salt Lake City, a Yankees fan in Salt Lake City. Okay. He thinks that the Bombers slide into second place in the AL East by the All-Star break. Oof. Well, I mean, they only got a half game up on Tampa right now, and, Boston might have traded some guys away, but they seem to have the Yankees number, and I don't know, Toronto's not good, but they're definitely not bad. I don't know. It depends. If the Yankees keep playing how they're playing, then there's a strong possibility. What do we got? About 2 weeks? 2 weeks for that? So I guess we'll check in with 2 weeks for that. But it's definitely for sure a possibility. Well, that's fantastic stuff all around, ladies and gentlemen. As always, from you guys, keep those hot takes and bold predictions coming. Hit me up on the socials, Rice on the Radio. Get your voice heard. After all, without you, I'm just a guy yelling into a microphone. And I love answering all your questions. So keep them coming. And that's going to do it for episode 19. If you made it this far, I appreciate you more than you know. Whether you're riding high with the Thunder, you're clenching your teeth over the Mets and Yankees, or just waiting on the Knicks to hire someone, anyone. This is your spot. This is your outlet. This is your mic check. If you enjoyed the episode, share it, post it, drop a review, text it to the group chat, start a debate. You know how this works. We grow this thing together. Don't forget, every Wednesday we run the midweek mic check on the Instagram story. That's where your hot takes, your bold predictions, that's how you get on the show, just like today. So follow me at Rice on the Radio. Tap in, vote, vent, speak your mind. I read it all. And as always, spread good energy. Tell someone you love them. Be the reason someone smiles today, because when you put positivity out there, that's exactly what finds its way back to you. I'm Ian Rice. This has been Rice on the Mics. And I'll see you guys next week.